Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos and welcome to my guide to Mythic Sprocketmonger Lockenstock. Now we have the markers and the weak ores here from Liquid, the Liquid weak ores that you can find on Wago. And this is also pre-nerf footage. I wanted to use this because it'll actually show the end of the fight, which we haven't seen since then. But the basic idea is that you get your raids split up into 10 people of the blue polarity, 10 people of the red polarity, and pretty much throughout the entire fight, facing into the room from the entrance, you're going to have your blue people on the left of the boss and your red people on the right of the boss. Now that changes in a couple of specific spots in the fight, but that's the general rule. And you will then have these mines that need to get popped, and the weak ore will basically help you assign that. If you use the note, you can set a priority list. So the basic idea with these first 4 mines is that not much is happening here. This is a great time to just have your healers do it. So we have all 4 of our healers always popping these 4. Your healers are going to get split 2 and 2 between red and blue. Your tanks are also going to get split 1 and 1 between red and blue. So you can kind of always have that work out. Some of the later sets, it's like, 90% of the time these players can do it, but 10% of the time you'll get some weird polarities so they can't. So after you do those first mines there, you're moving the boss now between circle and star. I have a liquid reminder set up as well that is telling me when to move the boss or where to move the boss at each of these times as well. That I'll put in the I'll give you a description link or something to that if you want to import that yourself if you have the liquid reminders. And in this entire area, you're just making sure to pop these mines as soon as you can, as soon as possible. And then get in position with your group. And the ranged players that are eligible for drills need to get out and take them into acceptable locations, which is basically just not somewhere that you need to be soon. And you are only eligible for a drill set once every 90 seconds. So you can know, and a weak ore can tell you, if you are or aren't going to be eligible for these drills. And so if you could be eligible for these drills, you already should be getting out of the raid if you're a ranged player. This is the set towards the end of each phase that is the most dangerous and most difficult to do with the drills. Most of the other times you can just kind of take them out and sort of learn where the places you take them out are. But this specific time is one where it really matters. So if you are red or blue, you're coming out onto this conveyor belt. And the goal is to do, you're dropping 3 drills as you do it. You do 1 behind the group, 1 to the side, and then you step forward and drop 1 like here and here, and then you can rejoin your group. And that's because there's lasers coming out right now, and you need to get back into the group very quickly at the end of your drills. So you'll see this getting executed here. The drill people going out, 1, 2, and then forward for 3, and then back in. It's not as important to come forward on the 3rd one right now, but for the rest of the fight, when this sequence repeats towards the ends of each phase, the lasers are going to be big and purple instead of small and yellow or orange, and that's going to be very important to do. So that's a really important move to learn for your ranged players. Meanwhile, on the tank side of things, you basically just want to swap before you get too high on stacks. You kind of learn and swap at the same time every time and figure out who's taking which party pack and who's taking the boss with a bunch of stacks here. So for instance, taking a party pack with a bunch of stacks requires a lot of defense. So here what we do is I have a bunch of stacks and the other tank takes the party pack here so that he can take it without having a lot of stacks and live pretty easily. Now this is one of the spots where you don't always play blue on this side of the room, red on this side of the room. This is a gateway set. So when the polarity switches here, which the polarity switches several times throughout the phase, you always just move to wherever you're supposed to go during the switch. It's a grace period as well. This one, if you are red, you get the gateway side, and if you're blue, you get the non-gateway side of the boss. And this is one of the hardest parts of the fight, actually. So all of red stacks up over here on this side, on the gateway, and then this beta launch cast will knock you very hard, very consistently as well, away from the boss. And it's not a one-time knock, it's a consistent knock during the effect, so you can't just cancel it once. It will keep blowing you away from the boss during it. But for the duration that you're in a gateway, you will be safe from the knockback. So what you want to do if you are red here is you are trying to get knocked back into this gateway and then hit your gateway control shard and get sent along the gateway. If you gateway early, what's instead going to happen is you will gateway and then get knocked off the edge. So you want to make sure you don't gateway until this cast finishes of the beta launch here. And that can be a tough timing to do. It makes it a little bit easier if you put the gateway a little bit behind you. You get a little bit more kind of time to actually do that gateway command shard. And you might even be able to stand far enough forward that you can't click it, and you can just be spamming the button until you get knocked into it. I'm a DK, so I don't have to do that. I can just Death's Advance. And if you're blue, you're just kind of playing in front of the boss. If you're blue range, you're trying to get knocked here. If you're blue melee, you're maybe trying to get knocked over here. But almost all the blue melee people will instead have a different effect that they can use to initially get knocked this way and then move over here. So monks, for instance, have left their transcend ports over there, and they can just transcend behind the boss if they're blue. They're gatewaying if they're red. Warriors can get knocked back here and then heroic leap here. Right, all of those bunch of different ways to make it work, and basically each class you kind of want to have a plan for what you're going to do if you're blue, what you're going to do if you're red. I'm saving my gateway shard here, so I don't gateway as red because I'm going to need that gateway cooldown for this next phase, but otherwise I would also take the gateway here. It's a little faster and easier. So then during this intermission is actually very chill, very low HPS and DPS requirement here. Extremely easy, chill time during the fight. This next wire transfer comes out, and we want the boss to be here. The red tank. So if I have threat there and I'm red, it's kind of hard to pull the boss out. And if I get repolarized to red, it can also be a little bit annoying. So the boss is maybe a little bit more up than it should be. But luckily I got blue, so I can pull the boss down this way. Again, we are doing our pops here of these mines. You'll notice the first two are actually the far away ones, right? They're way over to that side. So those are 1 and 2 and want to get done kind of fast so that those people can then get back for healing and get back into the group to avoid the big lasers that are in 10 seconds and get far away from where the tank bomb explosion is about to be. So here that comes the Power Party Pack. And if you're blue tank and you have this, you always can just take this middle conveyor belt down. If you're the red tank, you also can't. Both conveyor belts are pushing that way during this tank bomb, so the tank can just always go down there. The drills on both sides as well. Let's rewind a little bit. You can see we've got ranged players baiting over here. This is where you want to go if you are an eligible target for these drills and you're not one of the people popping a far mine. Is you go over here and you just then can take the conveyor belt down to rejoin your group after the drills are done here. So you can see all of our ranged are baiting over there. The drill's coming on them, and they're just quickly getting back to their group. Now here's the party pack, and this one you want to get as far away as possible so you don't hit the raid too hard. And then the gateway is conveniently right here. So whether you're red or blue, you can just then take that gateway back, make sure that there's no drills or people in the path of the gateway, make sure that people don't drop their drills in the path of that gateway, rejoin the group, and then here come the big purple laser beams, and soon we're going to be now on the move to Square and Moon. Now, unfortunately, the back conveyor belt here is now pushing away from where you want to go. So if you are on the blue team, you get to take the highway. You get to take the middle path towards Square and Moon, which is far away. If you are one of the two people assigned to these pops, you have to stay, and you have to do those pops 1 and 2. So they're actually behind the screen right now down here. So those two people need to identify that and do those pops. And then if you are a red person and you want to get to Square and Moon, you have to kind of take the middle, or you take the pathway here, but unfortunately there's this conveyor belt here that's going to be kind of annoying. It'll have a trap running across it as well, so you may want to just take the hit and move slower across here, or come up with your own way to get across that way. We can see how everybody does it in a sec here, but yeah, since I'm the blue tank and I'm actively tanking here, I just take the conveyor belt here. You can see a few people are taking the longer or the slower way, but that's a Void Weaver Shadow Priest, so he can just Void Torrent with movement speed increase and move across there. Other people running across the middle conveyor belt, but trying to dodge this trap that's there as well, or waiting for it before coming across. And the blue team has a much easier job. You just run across the conveyor belt. And now we're bringing the boss between Moon and Square. Now, you want to be a little bit closer to the Moon side than the Square side here, because that's going to be the safe spot during the big purple beams here. So try and move the boss a little bit further. I always try and kind of get the boss maybe so that its hitbox is touching this kind of copper pipe bit here. That's how I've been doing that. And then the far mine pops happen. Again, we're going to have more drills here. So drills, the red team can just take it this way. Blue team drills, you want to make sure that you don't get behind the group here. So you want to make sure that they get off to the side here, like where the boss's unit frame is here, because we're going to need to cross the middle of the room here in a sec. And then we're coming in for a beams and rockets combo. Now, this isn't too bad. They've nerfed the rocket frequency and damage by a lot since this kill happened, and obviously we have more gear as well now. So usually you can just live in a barrier. Back when we were initially doing this on progression, you would die sometimes, but that's not really an issue anymore. Post-nerf here, you just live in a barrier, in a darkness, press a personal if you're a red team person close to the missiles. And other than that, that's I actually went forward and soaked one of those to stop it from running into the blue team. That's something you can do. in some of these sets, you want a red person to go and stand behind the rest of the red group and like immune soak and actively soak them. If you have a prop paladin, spell warding is really good for that. I'll call out the most important set to do that because it's still in the future, but there's a good time to do it in P1 as well. So here we have a polarity swap, and the other tank is going and dropping off a Pyro Party Pack. So what's going to happen with the boss here is if I get polarized red, I'm holding the boss here for a while, and if I get polarized blue, I'm taking the boss over here right away. It's kind of unlucky if you're the other melee, of which if you're a melee and you're the opposite polarity as me, you're not going to get to hit the boss for a little bit here, for 5 seconds or so. But the rule is that blue gets across fast, and red stays here for a little while. And also, avoid this gateway because the other tank is going to be gating back here. So if you're blue, the other tank might be red and might need this gateway to be cleared. So that's not true on this pull because the other tank is polarized blue, but you want that gateway to be clear just in case that happens.
Star and circle.
Okay, so yeah, now the boss moves to the other side. This is the other tank taunting and brings it back over to the other side. Again, right away, we have some mines to pop. Those are just being done as quickly as possible. And this is one of the really tough overlaps of the fight here. So you want to get all of these mines nice and popped. Here is the drill set where it is vital to do this L-shaped maneuver. So if you're an eligible target for these drills, you're coming back here and you're dropping the first drill behind, right? And then moving to the side and then coming forward and then rejoining the group. And that way you can get in time to dodge these big lasers. Now this one has big lasers and you're being gripped towards the magnets and there are rockets coming. If a rocket hits you, it's going to knock you up and then you're going to keep getting gripped by the magnets and you're going to get gripped into the beam. So you ideally do want somebody immune soaking behind the group. We didn't have a prop paladin on this, which I think was a blunder. But if we did, this would be the set you'd spell warding and somebody would soak those. Or if a red person has something like Turtle or Bubble themselves, or potentially Death's Advance and AMS, IBF, that kind of thing. The problem is here I have a lot of stacks, and these stacks increase all damage taken. But once this falls off, I could help as well. You want to make sure that those rockets don't randomly kill somebody. So here you can see this rocket is a huge problem, right? It's coming through the middle of the raid. Now, luckily, it dodges all of the red team, but bang, hits somebody over on blue. And if they're close to the right-hand side there, they could easily have gotten launched into the laser beam. Luckily, that didn't happen on this pull. Part of the reason we killed it this pull, but that's also what you save B-reses for. Now, immediately after this, we're moving the boss to circle. And because Snap has so many stacks here, this is also where a bunch of personals and externals are used, because he also is going to get the Pyro Party Pack here. If we'd been the opposite colors, he would have had a few less stacks here, but whenever he's blue here, he has a bunch of stacks. So the gateway gets replaced and is now over to the other side. And this time around, it's blue players who get the gateway, and red players who sneak around in front here. And this is just designed such that whichever color your Warlock is, they will have time to cast this gateway. It doesn't actually matter which color is where, right? But doing it this way means that if the Warlock was red before, they can place the gateway now, and then shift to being in front. And if the Warlock is blue, then they can place the gateway after you do this shift. That's the theory behind doing this maneuver here, I think. That's at least what makes sense to me. So you're shifting around. Red is now getting to be in front of the boss. Blue gets the gateway. And then we are going to get knocked back away by this beta launch. Again, I'm Death's Advancing. If you're red, you're just getting knocked farther than the gateway. If you're blue, you're taking the gateway. And red range can get knocked to the middle line if you want, or you can get knocked to the sideline, or you can just get knocked in the middle and you can get to either of the sides before you take more than like one tick of the wire transfer, which is probably fine as well. That's also usually a safe way to handle this spot. What you want to avoid if you are blue here is gatewaying early. If you gateway early, you are going to cannonball through the red players and knock everybody back. It's going to be a wipe. So blue players very much need to avoid gatewaying early in this spot. And then we are just getting over into position here. There's the other tank who's just done that Pyro Party Pack. He's going to heroic leap here far away to just avoid potentially running into anybody. And then he'll have a long odyssey to get back to the boss here. In theory, although this time it didn't work out. So that's one of our B-reses. Okay, so yeah, all reds are now on this side of the boss. All blues are on this side of the boss. Again, intermission, very chill time, very little happening here. You just hit the boss. You kind of get to relax a little bit here. Don't overuse any CDs for this part. You just live. Get any reses that you need to. You have your second res during this as well. Now, this is a spot where we deviate from the usual rule. Instead of being left and right of the boss, it's now red is on the triangle side, and blue is on the other side here, the purple side of the boss. This is a polarity swap, so you move, again, if you to whichever side of that is appropriate, and then you are watching your feet. And there is some far pops happening here, and these close mines, you need to make sure that you don't stand on them. So this is very easy to accidentally mess up because you usually aren't stacked in a spot where the mines can spawn, but this time around you are, right? Like, look where everybody is here, and here come the mines. Very easy to hit these mines as they fall down, especially because they're not always in the exact same spot. So you need to make sure that people are watching their feet here and don't insta-blow up these mines. The far mine pops happen, and then we're going to get another set of drills. You can see all the ranged players baiting their drills here and here, and they're just going to take them nice and safely. Again, you want kind of consistent movement that everybody can do if they get the drills there. This party pack just comes out. Death's Advance, I can walk back. Here comes the first Mythic Void Orbs of this phase. Now, post-nerf, the boss got a lot of HP nerf. It would just be dead at this point, post huge HP nerf, especially now we have a bunch more gear. But your time progressing this boss, you may see this overlap, which this one is not too bad. A lot of guilds are killing it at the start or right before this cast even. So if you can't handle the Void Orbs, you can just kill the boss before them potentially. But the Void Orbs are an important part of the fight still. Compared to the frequency you're going to see on screen now, they do less damage and there's like way less of them. There's 30% less of them as well during this cast. So it's a lot easier to dodge than this. And there's no other mechanics going on as well, which is nice right now. So you just get the Sonic Baboom, which by the way, this is a physical dot on everybody. So if you have Stone Form will give you a damage reduction against it. Little tip there if you have any dwarves in your team. But yeah, here comes the orbs, and you're just dodging. The only thing that matters right now is dodging an orb. If you hit an orb, it explodes for raid damage, and that will... You can probably live one. You can maybe live two. You can't do much more than that. Even post-nerf, it's still very huge amounts of damage if these Void Orbs connect with players. So your entire goal here is spin your camera, look at the Void Orbs, dodge the Void Orbs, don't worry about your damage buttons, just look at the Void Orbs only. That's all we're doing here. You just find a nice little pathway. You can move forwards. You can move to the edges. You can run away from the orbs. Usually if you're running away from the orbs, you run the risk of getting hit by ones from the sides. But if you can find a nice path forwards, often that can be a really good way to do this. And you have to be really careful to not run into the other group. Running into the other group is going to wipe you as well. So that is banned. Running into the drills, of course, is bad as well. But you can see here, everybody just dodging and dodging through.
Anti-magic zone.
Then we have the other side here, where we're going to come over and we have now the boss is going to hang out between Skull and X for a little while. And we just are popping these 4 mines here and taking these drills out. The drills ideally are going along this conveyor belt right now. They can also go in the back of the room over here for red. That's totally fine. Just these edges of the room, all of these are fine spots for drills. We've had a couple of players die. It's all good. Now here comes the balls plus magnet grip to the middle of the room. And if you touch a magnet while it's gripping you, by the way, you get stunned, which will be a wipe because then you're going to get hit by balls. And the wire transfer is happening right now as well. So as soon as the ground is clear on this side, we are swapping over to the other side. Now again, this boss will probably be dead for you before you get to this overlap, but just in case you get here, here's how you handle this. You're bringing the boss to the other side, and then you are dodging as you are fleeing here. And you're just looking to the side. Everybody's just looking and dodging. Look, even the melee, you're just looking and dodging. I think we had one hit there, but we're still barely alive. And then you get a polarity swap at the same time. If you are polarized to something other than where you should be, right? If you're a blue player in this area, just get out, right? You can get out in kind of any direction. You maybe don't even want to run towards where the blue people are because maybe you'll collide with somebody doing the swap in the other direction. So doing what our Evoker here is doing and just getting out is really good play here, and then you'll have plenty of time to get back over to your group. And then we get another set of mines. These mines just again need to be done rapidly, so getting these done as fast as possible is really good.
Red tank.
And now here is a fun part of the fight. So we're about to get drills. The red drills are going out. The blue drills go along this conveyor belt. So the entire blue team, including melee, doesn't get to hit the boss the melee don't get to hit the boss for a while. All of the blue players are going to go on this conveyor belt together and drop the drills with them as they are moving down. And then they will they'll come back off the conveyor belt once they are in a nice safe space away from the lasers over there. Meanwhile, the red team is going to stay here with the boss, and we're going to hold the boss in a safe spot here. So if you're red melee, you get to keep hitting the boss. If you're blue melee, you don't. and we're just going to hold the boss, and then you just have to dodge these lasers, or dodge these orbs while the boss is here, while you are getting gripped by magnets. So if you're the blue team, you have an entire slice to do that in far off camera back behind, and if you're the red team, you have the slice with the boss, and you are just doing anything in your power to not get hit by a ball. If you need to, you can jump off, you can run into a laser. Either of those are fine. Getting hit by a ball is not. But yeah, as long as you do that, the boss should die, and then you just finish dodging. And then from this spot, there's like the boss is basically done doing mechanics now. It's going to do some more raid damage. It's going to do another Pyro Party Pack. It's going to repolarize you, and then it's going to enrage. But the hard part is now over. Now it's just kind of training dummy for another 10 seconds before you either wipe or you kill it. That is Sprocketmonger Lockenstock. Again, this boss has been nerfed quite a bit since this version. You probably should plan to kill it maybe right after the first Orbs of P3. That'll probably be, you'll have this spot where your damage is getting better and your mechanics are getting better, and they're probably going to overlap and lead to a kill around that spot in the fight. But your mileage may vary. You may play more or less. You may have better or worse mechanical or damage players, so you may see further or less far into that part of the fight. Either way, great fight. Really exciting one. The pre-nerf version of this was an absolute monster. Again, if you got hit by any of those orbs, more than like one, it was basically a wipe. And even here on our kill, almost everybody, or half the raid died in that last phase, and we just were barely able to get over the finish line. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.